drafting worldwide, wide. If I was doing this roof, I'm going to, instead of making these ones slope defining, I'm going to make these ones slope defining. Let's see what this does. I don't think that's going to do anything. You could have something like that. As an option. I can again edit this footprint and let's see. The other thing that I wanted to kind of point out is, since this one is longer, what I really want to do is I want to have this back part as the main part of the roof, and then I want to keep these slope defining. So what I'm going to do to make this one, this main part of the building, bigger is I'm going to go ahead and make these slope defining. I'm going to make those 512. So this roof up here is a shallow roof, and then these ones here, I'm going to make those 812, steeper. And what that does for me is this. Gives me that look. So I could take this down probably even to a 712 roof pitch. It's going to give me that option out here. Oh, because I have two different roof pitches. So again, I could select these, and I could make those 712 and see if it brings it down a little bit. But yep, so at this point, and I could play around with these slopes and literally have these two ridge lines for these roofs meet up. So same building, 3 or 4 different options. If I choose to have something with the same width, so in this option, this is very similar to the option that we just looked at over here. The only difference is I have a 30-foot wide wall here, and then I have a 30-foot wide wall here. So this makes it very easy to work on a roof, because I can just do this. Go to my roof level, look at this one, and in this roof I can make that one, that one, and that one. I can make those all slope defining. I'm just going to leave them 912, and the point with this one is, since those are the same dimensions, 30 feet this wide and 30 feet this wide, the roofs automatically meet right there, right in the center of both. And just to touch this up and clean it up a little bit, I can show you what it looks like. Bring those in. And then, since this is all the same slope, I could play around with this slope out here. I could make it a 512 and kind of see what it looks like there. So there's some more options, different ways that you can change this around, make it look a little bit nicer. And that was kind of the point of this one, having those both the same. Whenever I get into this, again, I'm similar square footage, similar depths. but I have offsets on all four sides. So here, I'm trying to move this out. I'm going to go to my roof level. If I do this, what's jumping out at me is I want these to go. I want those to slope define. So I'm going to pick those two, and then I'm going to select those as slope defining. I'm going to have to just pick all these first. So I'm just going to go the whole way around, pick all my walls. Those automatically connect together for me. And then I'm going to select the ones I want to be slope defining. So I'm going to do a few different options here. I'll start out with just these parts being slope defining and see what that does for me. And let me get over to that view. So it does something like that. So I can hover over top of these walls here, hit tab, selects all of them, and then attach them all to this roof at once. So that has a pretty nice look there. That would be one option. I could go back to this, and again I could select these as slope defining as well, and now I end up with something like this. And again, I could play around with the different slopes to get these to kind of match up, but that's still a completely different look than what we've seen so far. Maybe these sides have windows. Maybe if we just bring this whole thing down a little bit, something more realistic like a 712 looks a little bit better. And then we also have the option to, once again, like whenever we first started, we can make these all slope defining, and it gives us one great big hip roof that does something like that. So the one last option that I'll change with this, maybe, and I see this a lot with different houses, is maybe the whole main roof is a hip roof, and then this one over here is a gable. So now what I have is I have a main roof that's a hip roof with two gables coming into it. So the whole point to this is you have 8, 9, 10 different options for roofs, and you basically have an extremely similar building. So just changing some minor features on this garage, like having these little bump outs, it gives it a lot of extra character. So if you're looking for, if someone wants a garage that is a lot better looking, and it's a kind of like a feature or a focal point of their house, then you might want to just add a couple little bump outs like this, play around with different pitches, pick which ones are slope defining, and really the key to this is just spending some time playing around with it, coming up with some different options, and not letting yourself get too messed up by all the different things in Revit. So a lot of times what will happen in Revit is I'll just get strange errors. So I'll just give you one simple little example of that. Let's say I just remove that. And I'm looking at this and I think, oh, everything's good, and I say check mark. Lines must be in closed loops. The highlighted lines are open on one end. So basically what they're saying is, hey, this whole thing does not complete itself. You got a missing line right there. So you can go through, add that line. And these are just some basics of the roof too. So there'll be a lot of different errors that you run into as you start to learn how to design roofs in Revit a little bit more. Alright, so that basically gives you a nice little picture of some different things. We could also add dormers to these. We could have multiple levels. We could have multiple roofs built into the same thing. A lot of people will do something like this where I'm just going to modify this real quickly. I'm going to make these slope defining. They already are slope defining. So I'm going to make this one not slope defining. So I get rid of that hip roof out front there. So a lot of times I'll have something like that for a roof. And then what people will do is, I'm just going to bump this over a little bit. They'll come back here to this roof. And instead of trying to modify this existing roof, they'll just add another roof to it. And instead of picking my walls, I'm just going to do a rectangle, and I'm just going to do something like this. I'm going to make that come out like 4 feet, 4'6", something like that. I'm not going to worry about measurements too much. I'm just going to kind of get this close. And then I'm going to make this one here my slope defining one. And I'm just going to make that a little 412 roof. I'll say OK. And then I look at that and I can kind of see how that looks. It's basically just a little bit of added roof over top of that. I could add slope to these side ones. And it would do that. Looks slightly better. I could, since the garage doors are out there, I could bring these in quite a bit. And again, I'm not measuring anything, I'm just kind of eyeballing things. And I have a little roof over there for like an added feature. So you could literally have infinite designs, and the really cool thing about Revit is you can do these very quickly compared to, if I was going to be doing all these different roof options with AutoCAD, I would literally have weeks of work doing what I just did. Alright, so in the next video we'll get more into the actual details of the roofs and how to actually make this work.